Take two. Well, at least we didn't go over there, and then I would have sounded like Darth Vader, and that would have been a bit awkward. Luke, follow the Force. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of HairTube. I'm here today with Celeste.
Hello.
Celeste's actually a hairdresser, and she contacted me last week with what's going on in the world at the moment, and everyone's sort of not having much to do. We thought, well, let's catch up, give her a great haircut, and she decided to cut it all off today, so yep. I'm really excited about doing that.
I'm very excited.
So normally I would prep the hair and then we go back and blow dry it and cut it dry, but because we're doing a big change in length, I'm going to do the majority of the shape wet, and then we'll do some personalising and some texturising when the hair's dry. So again, focusing on wash and wear hair. We want it to be worn in and seamless. We don't want to have a a style that's going to be a lot of maintenance and something hard to do. And I think that we're going to utilise this shape in the hairline, which will be really good because we want to do one of those shapes that sort of comes and sits to the side. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Excited? Any questions?
Excited. No, I like the idea.
This is a little bit awkward because this is our second take, because the first time we did, I stuffed up the audio.
Yeah,
so
we're not following the script this time.
There's no script. The only thing that's scripted is you're going to get a good haircut, I hope.
Awesome. Me
Yeah,
too.
all right. So we're going to get over the base and get Celeste prepped, and then we'll come back, we'll get started. All right, so we've got our 4 sections, and it's really important that we make sure that, especially when we're doing restyles, that we segment the hair to, look, sometimes you'll hear me say that if you over-section the hair, it can actually make you inaccurate. But given the amount of hair Celeste has, and she has beautiful hair, I'm going to have to make sure that my sections are such that my scissor can accurately cut through them. And for that reason, I'm actually going to you're probably going to notice I take more sections than I normally do in this haircut. And chin down, perfect. Really important that we make sure that the tension on the hair is natural fall, because I don't want any pressure graduation. In this first section, I like to make sure the cape's out of the way. And if you come in real close, you'll see something that I always say is I always like to work in rectangles, so I want to make sure this hair's not sitting out there. And I'm also keeping in mind that that hairline's pushing out on this a little bit. Next section. So for those of you who are worried about me putting hair all down the back of Celeste's top, it won't happen because it's long hair that's going to fall straight to the ground, so you don't have to worry about that unless you're going back and you're cutting it second, third, fourth time. We just want to make sure that you literally just bang, 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 and it just all falls to the ground. You can see I'm really just making sure that just falls, natural fall. When you're cutting on the right, make sure you bring your chair to the left a little, so we don't cut the corners off. And then when you're on the left, make sure you sit to the right. You want to make sure we don't follow that around this way like that. So now I'm going to start to use my comb to control the hair, because we're getting to the top of the section. But again, I'm using the wide end of my comb. As I just said, I'm over here on the right. Now I'm going to swing to the left, and that makes us stay square when I'm going to cut the corners off. Comb goes in, hold it with a scissor, scissor goes underneath, move over to the right, off it goes. Last section. And this is all about just removing the hair we don't need. We're going to go back and refine this. I guess that's quite important to mention. Just looking for my guideline. Now we're just going to apply a tiny little bit of tension just to remove any graduation. So we'll need to close the cape for this. Otherwise we're going to end up with hair all down the top because these are little pieces of hair. We're not going to fuss too much about it. Like I said, when we refine this, we'll sort it out in the end, but you can see there's just that little bit of graduation that pokes out from underneath. So back's done. Again, don't fuss too much. You can see that these little pieces here are poking out. That's not important. This is just about removing the hair we don't need. So now we're going to work left to right. We're going to take vertical sections and we're going to bring this into the baseline. Chin down a bit, gorgeous, thank you. So again, we'll just bring that into the baseline. You can see that I'm here to be able to get where I need to get to the hair, but then before I cut it, I'm coming back around this way. And we're just going to keep going 1 centimetre sections till we get to the end. I'm still working through here, section at a time, almost done. You see, I'm really focusing on trying to preserve these points towards the side. Such an important part of this haircut. I said in the beginning we wanted to make sure that it was square, and we wanted to have those points that just kick towards the front to give it that really cute modern feel. We don't want that round sort of bob that comes in underneath. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, we wanted to do something a little more modern and relevant. I like to sometimes hold the hair there with my scissor so it doesn't get away from me. And again, I can't stress how important it is to preserve these points. All right, up to the last section, just head back, gorgeous. We're going to comb all this back and bring this all into the back. And then we're going to move on to the sides. Chin down, gorgeous, thank you. So the whole time I've been doing this, I'm using the wide end of my comb to make sure I don't get any unnecessary tension on the hair. And all I'm going to get Celeste to do now is just turn the chin and head down a little bit, just so I can comb this back. going to swing around this way to make sure I don't get in my own way. And then the opposite for this one. Not too far, thank you. It's like you're getting education too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of hairdressers who actually have their hair cut on my YouTube channel.
Really?
Yeah, there's been a few of them.
Well, everyone's going to love my hair.
Well, I hope they do.
Then they're going to ask me to cut one similar, and then I've got a video.
Yeah. All right, let's check balance. Okay, we'll move on to the sides. Okay, so although the sides were cut into the back, what happens sometimes is you get a little kick towards the front. So what we're going to do is just make sure that we have, sometimes and I can see it already, you get this edge coming around and it sort of dips towards the front, because if you stretch that back over the ear or behind the ear, you'll sometimes get a hole. So I just want to make sure we've got all that. So actually we'll section this in half. And then what I ask my clients to do, just make sure they don't have earrings, because I always rip out those earrings that are in the top. You can see that little corner that I'm talking about, see just here? So what I do is I just ask my client to if you could just like look into the mirror for me.
Yep.
Perfect. So now I don't have to worry about running into Celeste's shoulder anymore. And again, always using the wide end of the comb. And I'm going to freehand just take that little point off. And then again, this is all about making sure we do 80% of the haircut when it's wet. And then if you blow dry it and there's a little bit sticking out, we can get it later. But you can see the guideline here on the top. It's just there. So the hair that's underneath, we just want to get rid of. So now I'm going to come back here, which allows me to get in there easier. And again, freehand, we're just going to take that off. Easy enough. You just don't want to stretch it and then have that where it goes lump and then you have a kick towards the front. Again, you can just see here, we'll just take that out. Don't need to stretch it too much. Just comb it gently. And again, once we've dried it off, if there's any finer pieces that have been missed, we can do that during the refining process. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, so layering obviously removes weight from the hair. So I have a classic look where you see it choppy and layered through there. So if layering is something that we're just going to use here to sort of, not primarily to remove bulk out of the hair, but to just change the shape, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through and I'm going to remove weight by point cutting the hair. So then I'm removing some weight with texture, then I can have a better gauge on how much layering I actually need to do. So we're just going to start underneath, and normally I would not use clips, but there's a lot of hair here, so we're going to do with the clips because it'll make it a lot easier. We just want to make sure that we use our straight blade. We don't chop into the hair too much. And so what I'm actually doing is projecting the hair at 90 degrees and then removing the bulk out of there. And once I feel like the hair on the ends is where I want it to be, and this is, as I say often, this is a personal thing. This is a personal hairdresser aesthetic. It's not something I can teach you how I remove it, but I can't really teach you how I like it to feel. So this is something that, you know, you guys need to make sure that it's your signature on this. You don't want to copy anyone else's aesthetic. You want to have it feel the way you want it to feel. So now we're into the side, so I'm just going to pull this away, and there's this little part behind the ear we're going to do first, and then we're going to do to the back here. Now one of the reasons that when I do this I project it at 90 degrees is like when you're cutting hair any other time, the closer you go to zero, the harder the line becomes, or solid. The further you project it away from zero and cut it, the softer it falls. So it's the same with texture. If I were to texture this here, you're actually going to see it quite strong. You'll actually see the marks, whereas by texturizing here above 90, it has the same effect of layering. It creates softness. So this is an exercise for the underneath. So if you feel like the top is still heavy, that's going to be addressed obviously when we lay the hair. This is purely for the hair that is going to sit underneath that. Thank you. Again, we're just going to go to that behind the ear corner. Again, just work in like 1/4 of an inch, roughly about 1 centimetre. All right, I think the underneath's done. So this again is going to be seamless. And although it is going to create some shape, because when we wear this with movement or with a bend or a kink like we're going to style it today, we don't want it to fall into a big triangle and end up out here on Celeste's shoulders. So what we're going to do is a technique you've seen me do in long hair before. But you can obviously do it in hair that's shorter. It's a slight little, I guess you could call it like a triangle, where the top meets the bottom there. So then when we let that go, you'll see how much variation it has. But the beautiful thing about it is you can't see any holes or lines or chunks. Through the center. So again, just working a rectangle. And then once we've done that rectangle section through the middle, just come a bit closer, just come right here so they can see at the back. So once we've done this whole section here, because this is going to be our guide, then we'll start moving on to the side. So we've got to be happy with this first, and we'll put some texture in there. Again, making sure we don't cut across our cutting line. We want to make it seamless. Once we get to the side here, we want to over direct it straight out. if you guys have lost it, as in your guide, not lost your mind, I've lost my mind. If you've lost your guideline, just go back and find it, because if you're out by even just the tiniest little margin, even if you're out by a millimetre, if you take 10 sections after that, you end up being 10 centimetres out of balance, 1 centimetre, which is a lot. I think that feels good in the back. Maybe take a little bit more. As I said before when we were texturising the underneath, this is it's a personal thing. Like it has to feel the way you want it to feel. Like and I like to be able to get my fingers through it without it getting, like here on the sides, it's still quite heavy. Here it's beautiful in the middle. So now for me, it's just about tying these sides in. So now just like when we're cutting the baseline, we bring everything back. Again, we go vertical sections, bring this all back to the side. And where we have hair that overhangs like there, we take that off and we texturise it. We're quite far into the side now, and you'll see how much hair overhangs. It's so important. You can see there that you make sure that we keep that angle, and I'm projecting it back towards the centre. We don't want to cut that point off. Some of you guys might notice that it almost looks like it's disconnected, and I guess in some ways it is. But when we go down like this, it's still seamless. You don't want to end up having a point there. See it before you've done it, but the first time you do it, it makes much more sense. And I remember when I was experimenting with it, it was confusing me quite a lot. And it's all about just getting a doll's head and chopping it up, and doll's heads don't complain, so you just have to practice. Be patient with. Now, if you don't have big hands like me, you can split it up into multiple sections, but I'm literally going to try and do the whole left-hand side all at once. And we're going to bring that up. Don't worry about the hair that falls out, it's too short already, like it won't reach the section if it's falling out. And we bring all this back, you'll see there, this has to be blended in, and then we're going to point cut. There's that little bit there. Then we're going to get stuck into that. Again, make sure you don't break up our design line. You want to go in there without disturbing the cutting line. It's about removing weight and bulk. This is not about making the ends choppy or making it look sort of more edgy and torn. This is about making it completely seamless. If I get my brush, if I've done it right, I'm going to pull this back. You can see now it's starting to sort of collapse it in as well, which is really important to mention, because that's what this is about. This is actually about getting the hair to collapse onto itself so it doesn't end up like a big triangle. Oh, what a catch. My isolation, eating pizza every day, belly that I have to lose when I go back to the gym. Oh. It's the thing I'm missing the most, hey, is the gym and my clients. But they're slowly starting to come back now. All right, now we're going to move on to the front. The shape in the front is going to be very, very minimal because we want flexibility to be able to flip the hair both ways. And you can see it's pretty much been done for me anyway, but if it wasn't, this is how I'd do it. So I'd take a triangle section that when I hold it like this, we tuck this, we tuck that. When we let that go, that's going to be the hair that we can move around, so this side or that side. So I want to make sure that the back is always shorter than the front, because when we let this go, the short hair is going to kick the long hair away. So short hair always directs the long hair. So it's such an important, I guess, what could you call it? I guess it's a theory. Well, it's not even a theory because it's proven. It's just a rule. It's, for me, the most important rule in cutting hair is the short hair directs long hair. So you always have to have, if you understand where to put short hair, you can boss the long hair around. You can make it go wherever you want it to go without having to style it that way. So as we've done throughout the rest of the haircut, we're just going to break this up with some point cutting. Again, we don't want to go this way and disturb the cutting line. The hair that's falling out is fine because that was the short hair from before. This is just to tie it in with the hair around, and I'll show you as we push this back. You'll be able to see what happens when we push this back. So when this comes back, we now have hair here, which frames, and there, which frames. We can also pull it straight to the side again.
I was struggling already. I went 3 concerts from Chelsea, just telling me like, at one point I was actually looking really good, really wanted to see change. And I really like when I'm in the place. It actually reminds me a lot of Canberra, just with the beach, similar sort of size, demographic. Yep, but yeah, he said I'm lucky I didn't because the economy down there is fucked.
All right, we're going to get this cape off, and we'll come back and have a chat to you for the outro. What do you think?
I love it so much.
Looks good, huh?
Better than I had imagined. Perfect. I love it. Feels very me, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, look, yeah, not that your hair looked bad before by any means, but I sometimes think that, and we sort of had I guess the conversation we had around before whether you're going to cut it off or not was about that. Like, I'm not sure whether I should do it. You know, you spoke to a couple of people, oh, you know,
yeah.
but I think it's like, I just think women wear their hair long. No, it's not in fear, it's just because it's sort of like everyone else is.
No, it's so true though.
But then you go and cut it off, it's like, how could anyone who has a pair of eyes at work say that you don't look incredible like this? And it didn't look bad before, but you know, you still look beautiful, feminine. You know, I actually think you look better, but not that you look bad before. But yeah, it's just, I think more women need to be prepared to be able to just do it. And then when it's done, it's like, what was I ever worried about?
It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
It was this massive security blanket, and I think this is, for me, is much more practical, and it feels.
Well, if you go back to the beginning of the video,
yeah.
You can't see any of this. I mean, you're telling me you're a surfer and you're obviously fit and you just got hair that's hiding all the things that you're working so hard to, you know, so the hair has to complement you and you're little. So when you've got lots of hair, you know, not exactly in your circumstance, but on some women I found it actually makes them look frumpy when they're not. Because their hair just sits here, it's out here, and you just actually makes you look, you know, a little bit oompa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You said to me was, you know, I was worried it wouldn't suit me and then I wouldn't be as pretty anymore or whatever. But then you said, yes, but you'd still just be like everyone else. And it's like, well,
yeah, you just fit in.
I want to be different.
Well, if anyone out there says or thinks Celeste doesn't look pretty now, I mean, please leave your phone number in the comments section so I can call you.
If you think I look ugly.
And I will give you a call and tell you in no uncertain terms that you. Yeah, so I think you look great. Just get your hands in and mess it up for us. It's just I think also it's important to make sure that it's not too done. So Celeste's going to send us some photos when she wears it curly because I'm really keen to see that. For the styling, I just used used 2 glam palm tools. So I used a flat iron underneath, just so underneath it wasn't just straight. So I literally just went like that, just a quick kink so it's not falling straight. Then I used a round cylindrical wand and I just did like a little bend off the face. You can see that there was a few little snippets and cutaways of me doing that, but again, I'm not too precious about it. Some you know, do one way, some the other. I take big sections, small sections. I never make it perfect because I want it to look real. I did say to Celeste off the camera, one thing that I did make sure I did was just make sure that this area here, when we pull it back and we bring it forward, that actually sort of opens up there on her cheekbone, and the same on this side. So just want to make sure that it opens up that part of her face. That's really important. And then here, this just doesn't matter. You can do whatever with that. Thanks for trusting me. I'm sorry, but you're banging hot. Like,
Thank you.
not that you weren't before, but this is just another level. It's just, and you know, like with about the separating apart is like, if I saw Celeste at 10 o'clock this morning, and then you walk past it at the same time now, I know which way I'll be looking. And it's just because it's just like you can see your beautiful face, you can see your body, your physique, and it's just, I don't know, it's just like it's fresh and new and just, I don't know, you look cooler.
I feel cooler. Yeah, I feel cooler.
Probably in the metaphorical and physical sense too, because there's no hair on there.
Yeah,
but
actually feels much lighter.
thanks for trusting me, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, it's been great.
Thanks guys for tuning in. Yeah, I can't give her a hug, like.
I know, I just touched you, you need to sanitize.
No, it's fine, I'm not sanitising nothing. I won't wash this jacket. No, like I don't want anyone to think that we're not taking what's happening in the world serious at the moment. We do need to make sure that we protect ourselves. But what I would like to say on that is, when all this is over, can we not forget that we're human, and a part of being a human being in our DNA is contact with humans, and not in a dirty sense, but to be able to shake a guy's hand or give a female friend a hug is something that I hope that we can go back to doing one day, because otherwise it's just going to be, it's going to just feel so disconnected and robotic in life. But you know what?
Yeah.
We can still do cool hair.
Still do cool hair.
Just like now. So see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time. Oh, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share this video with a friend if you think they might benefit from it. And go and check out our new Facebook group called Aftermath Hair Ed.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. There's lots of amazing Australian hairdressers doing some cool stuff you might benefit from it. So until next time, from Canberra in Australia, it's bye.